Okay, guys, so last video of this series, and probably this is kind of like the most complex part of it. But let me just show you. So once we have created our bookings to the backend, right now that we're pushing our bookings to the backend, now first of all, let's get the bookings from Airbnb. So let's do that. Let me take you through the whole process. So let's first go into our APIs because I have already built it, and I will go through it. From Airbnb to Xano. So as I said it before, this needs to be a background function. This shouldn't be a regular endpoint because this is going to run every minute. Just for this example, we have it here as an API. Let me just show you because we're running this manually. So we have the query record from bookings. So this is, as I said, this is going to be a background function. So we're imagining that we have like 10 properties, right, that we want to sync at the same time. But for this case, we only have one. I'm just going to stop and debug. Oh, wait, I just cloned that. My mistake. I'm just going to stop and debug step by step so you guys can see the whole thing. And I really like that. So we're going to stop and debug what properties is. Properties is a list of properties. As you can see, we have it as a stream because we're going to loop through each. That's why we are getting this. As you can see, if I go to the output, stream. Why do we set it as a stream? It's because it's faster. This is something that the Xano team shared. I don't know what it's doing in the background, but they recommended to use a stream if we're going to loop through each element. But now, let's just then stop and debug what this is. So first of all, we're getting the property that are Airbnb underscore URL. This is the iCal that we're getting from Airbnb. This is something that, you know, if we're setting up for this for a client, they need to go into Airbnb and get this calendar export URL from each property that they own. This is something that it needs to be done manually. There's no way for us to do this dynamically. So they need to copy this URL, go into the properties table, and paste this right here. Let's continue. So let's go to here. I'm just going to stop and debug what item is. Oh, sorry, properties, because we're looping through each property as property. So property. Let's run that. As you can see, we get the item, and from there we're getting the property that Airbnb URL. So from there, we're making the API request, right, to Airbnb. If I save this, what are we getting? The stop and debug of the API request, we get the whole response, right? The request with all of our headers that we're sending, and as well the response with the header, with a successful result, as you can see, 200, and the content type that it's a iCal and the result. What we really care about is the result. So we have here the response, that result. And if I stop this here, Airbnb iCalendar, save that. You know what? Just in case we don't get a successful response for one of the properties, I know it's impossible, but even though if we get not get a successful response, this is one of the most used filters in Xano, and it's get. So even though we don't get anything here, we can just set this to here response that result. Just going to save that. Cool. And now if I just stop and debug this that I already did, we get this iCalendar string. Cool. Sorry, my cat is over me. Let me just move her. Okay, cool. And now we have the important part. This is the cool thing. So let me just show you. We use ChatGPT here. I'm going to share this Lambda function with y'all, but this is pretty much transformed. This is string. This is why ChatGPT is so important here. Just going to say, hey, transform this iCal string with JS into an array of objects like this. For example, we're going to say ID, check-in, I just need to do ID. Let me just do ID, comma, check-in. I know this is dummy, but hopefully it understands what I'm trying to achieve here, because I have already done it, but I think I did it in 2 steps. So let's see what we get here. Okay, so it will get the iCal string. So pretty much we're transforming this string into a simple array of objects with the check-in, check-out, and the ID of each booking. Because as you can see right here, this is a string, but they are splitting everything with spaces. So this is easier to read. As you can see, we have begin, vCalendar. We have a ton of things that we don't really care about, version, whatever. But this is the thing. Whenever an event begins, we have begin event, and then we have the start. We have, the end, the start, and we have the UID. And this is the unique UID that won't be repeated in another booking that we can use. So pretty much we're transforming that. I won't see what we get from here. Not sure if it will work. Hopefully it works, but I'm going to share the code that I already have here, that, as I said, I did with ChatGPT. And the only thing is we don't have that string anymore. So this is a Lambda function, as I said. From here, we need to reference this variable right here that we stop and debug Airbnb iCal into that Lambda. So the way that we can reference that is $var.airbnb_iCal. That's how you reference a variable as well. You can reference inputs, not only variables. And you can reference, these whenever you make a filter, but not in this case. So we're not going to do that. We're only going to use var.airbnb_iCal. So save that. I'm going to stop and debug that so you guys can see what's the result. As I said, that's why Airbnb is so important. ChatGPT is so important, because it does the heavy work for us. So as you can see, we have now a start and end with other names here, start, end. It could be check-in, check-out, but whatever. ID, and that's what we need. So from here, we're creating an array of IDs here. The array of IDs of this element. Why? The reason why is we need to know which bookings do we need to delete. If the array that we are getting is not in here, so pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to query all the records where the checkout, let me just fix this. The check-in, it's fine. Let me just think about it for a second here. We want to delete all of the bookings where the check-in, this is fine. So what is this function querying here? So this function is querying all the check-ins that were part or came from Airbnb of this specific property, but don't exist anymore. So it means that someone has canceled their booking in Airbnb or has deleted it. So let's go through it. So first of all, we're checking, by the way, Airbnb only sends the bookings that are from now to the future. So it won't send us bookings from the past. Obviously, we don't want to delete bookings in the past here. So that's why we have this logic here. Check-in is more than now. So it means that the booking is in the future. That's what it means. So if the booking is in the future, we want to look for that. If Airbnb ID doesn't equal null and Airbnb ID doesn't equal empty, and as well the property ID is the one that we're looping through. So this means that if it doesn't equal null and doesn't equal empty, it means that the Airbnb ID exists. So those are the conditionals. Pretty much you will find bookings that don't exist anymore or were canceling Airbnb, and that will loop through each. Here, as you can see, booking to delete, and it will delete each record. That's pretty much it. By the way, we can get this as a stream again. I don't know why we're getting as a list, but we can get a stream, save that, and that's cool. And now we are looping through each array of IDs here array of bookings that we got, like this exactly this array right here. We're going to loop through each one of these, and we're going to add or edit a record related to the Airbnb ID. So if it already exists, it won't add it. It will just edit it, but pretty much it won't do anything because it's not really editing anything because it's literally placing the same data. Or it will create it if it doesn't exist. So that's pretty much what we're doing here. you not only need to reference the ID, you can as well reference other fields. As you see right here, this is the Airbnb ID, and this is the item ID. As you can see, it's exactly what we are looking for. Then we're setting the property ID, the item that start date, and item that end. That's it. That's how we send data from Airbnb to our property. As I said, this is looping through each property, but we only have one right now. So that's pretty much it. Just going to publish that. Let's continue. So let me just, for example, let's just go to bookings. And let's clear all of this right here. Let me just go to my function so you guys can see it working. And let's run it from Airbnb to Xano. Let's run that, and we got a successful message, and we got the new bookings right here, as you can see. The same dates. Something that we could do, no, we don't need to do anything else here. This is perfect, and that's it. Now, next step, now syncing data from Airbnb to Xano. This is a little more complex. Let me just show you. So from Xano to Airbnb. So once again, we're going to do the same thing, but instead of looping through each property, we're going to loop through each booking. Obviously, this is related to each property. I will show you why. Now, in order to sync each property to Airbnb, we need to import an iCal URL. And as you can see, we have one here. And let me just, I wish I could open the URL, but pretty much the URL that we need is this endpoint right here. And we can add a URL parameter called property_ID with the value of the property ID that we want to sync. So pretty much we can reuse this same endpoint for different properties, where we can just say property ID equals 1, equals 2, 3, and as many properties as we want. Not only we can reference the property ID, you know, it could be, I don't know, Webflow ID. If it's worth thinking with Webflow, it could be, I don't know, Airbnb ID, or, you know, something like that. We can reference with anything. But in this case, we're just using property underscore ID equals 1. So let's continue. So here, as you can see, we have the property ID. Then we're querying all the records from that property where the Airbnb ID equals empty or equals null. So it means that it's not coming from Airbnb. This is a booking that came from our property management system, and or booking management system. And then we are checking if the bookings is empty equals false, then we want to do something. If it's empty, then we want to create a variable with a dummy iCalendar, because we always need to send like some kind of calendar in order for Airbnb to accept our URL, because Airbnb will check if your URL is a proper iCal. If it's not, it won't accept it. So here we will loop through each booking if it's not empty as item, and then we are going to update our check-in date into this format: year, month, and day. That's what the iCal or the the iCalendar is expecting for or waiting for. So let me just show you here. Below, we will do item. Sorry, stop and debug, and we'll do item here. We'll loop into each element as item. Oh no, it's out of here. So we will do then bookings. This is what we're getting. Pretty much we just fix or change the structure of the check-in and checkout date. After that, this is the funny part. This is what is doing all the job, is ChatGPT once again. So pretty much what I did is transform an array like this. We can just copy the whole thing. Transform an array like this into something like this. And we can just paste our iCalendar. Obviously, I don't know if ChatGPT will give us exactly what we need now, but it was like a chat with ChatGPT. Whenever I did it for the first time, I use a tool called iCalendar Validator. This was really useful. This is where you can validate your URL. Sometimes I don't know why it doesn't validate properly our URL. So let me just copy this endpoint. It's just weird. The URL, let's do, oh, damn. Property. But the first time it helped me a lot. Property ID equals 1. And if I run this, validate, success, no error found. So you can see this is a tool that really useful to create iCalendars and just to check if it's okay. If it's not okay, by the way, Airbnb won't accept the URL. So you guys need to be aware of that. So let's continue. So now, as you can see here, let's imagine that ChatGPT gave us a proper response, right, with this logic right here. So we just need to replace these reservations with our variable in Xano and then let ChatGPT do the work, right? So now what we want to do is go here into our iCalendar. And as you can see here, it's a little different from what ChatGPT gave us, but here is where, as I said, I'm going to share all of these scripts with you all. Here in events, we have the $.bar.bookings. That's what it's expecting. And we are changing some values here. As you can see, we have the Xano. This is something that we can call as we want. I call it Xano because it's coming from Xano, so I thought it could make sense. So now that we have that, I can just stop and debug what we're getting from here, from the Lambda function as an iCalendar. Fantastic. That's what Airbnb is expecting. So if I can just move this out of the function. By the way, as I said, if bookings is empty, we're still sending like a dummy string of iCalendar with nothing. Because if we don't send anything, Airbnb won't accept our URL if there are no bookings. You guys need to be aware of that. So that's why we're setting up like that. And then something that by default Xano does is they send API requests with the content type of a JSON file. We don't want a JSON file in this case. We want the content type to be a text-calendar. We got this from the request that we made to Airbnb, and we knew that we needed to send it this way, content type, text calendar. So that's pretty much it. And then we're sending the variable iCalendar. So now, if I copy this URL and I go into Airbnb, by the way, it's already added. So let's take a look to the booking properties that we have here. So it should be, the properties should be blocked. So from the 19th to the 26th, let's take a look. Let me just refresh the page because I don't know if Airbnb it's updated live. So if I go to May, as you can see, we have all the property books. As I said, I don't know how many requests that Airbnb makes to our endpoint. We can look into the history here. Yeah. That's something that we can definitely look into and see how many requests that Airbnb makes. You know, if it's every 5 minutes, every minute, it's fantastic to check that. So I can revert all the changes because I'm not going to make any changes here. And request history. As you can see, oh, Airbnb makes a request pretty much. Yeah, it's, I guess, every minute from here. Every 4 minutes, every 5 minutes, or is it every 20 minutes? I don't know. 22, 26, 20. I don't know. I don't know if this is reliable. But yeah, it kind of makes a request. It's not consistent, but yeah. But it makes the request, so that's good. So now that we know that's working, that's pretty much it, guys. This is it. This is how you sync Airbnb with Webflow. Oh, by the way, something that I forgot is, finally, after you have created a proper iCalendar element or API endpoint, now you just need to copy this, go to here. You can remove your calendar. we can do it now. As you can see, the dates will be cleared. I can add the calendar again, calendar URL. I will add the property ID, and I can call it Xano once again, and I can save it. And as you can see, the dates will get blocked again. So that's it for the tutorials. I hope you guys liked it, and nothing else. Please expect more tutorials related, with this type of things, and really happy to make them for you guys.